right, you guys, I'm going to cut you guys a little short this time. What's that? Two things. There you go. All right, deal. See, analyst right there. Improving the process. All right, you guys, let's wrap it up. We're gonna start talking about basically what we like is like 2 options from each table. So are we gonna have the same speakers? All right.
Just 2 things. Your favorite 2 things.
Yep, favorite 2 things. And remember, there is no wrong answer.
Favorite 2 things.
There's no one way to do anything.
Do we want to read any of this?
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah.
It's really long.
It is really long.
Read the first,
Yeah, what's the, let me,
the first sentence.
Okay, so just for the other side of the room, this is a go, no go scenario. A project must develop and implement an integrated benefits processing system that could process applications, determine eligibility, track status, facilitate electronic data exchange with trading partners, and make payments for several different programs. And their job was to determine, I lost the questions there. There's a whole bunch of scenarios that went wrong with the system that are, they're trying to decide kind of whether to pull the plug on it. And they wanted to know kind of what went wrong and what could have prevented it from happening. Trying to sum up there.
So when we were reading through the different scenarios, it looked like a lot of things went wrong. But we'll just focus in on some of the things. One of the things we noticed was that they didn't really engage all the the stakeholders. They used the subject matter experts as their business analysts, and it's good to involve your SMEs, but it's also important that you involve other people, other subject matter experts, because when you're focused in your own job, you tend to forget that when you hand things off to other people, that they also have other things they do with it that you may not know of. So one of the things that we also noticed is what could have prevented this from happening at the beginning. The solution should have been modeled after more programs other than just that one program, DISMEs. And what should the department have done differently? As we said earlier, more people should have been involved. There should have been more experts in people that design the electronic processes, because apparently the department didn't have a lot of experience in designing it, and they went forward with the project.
Great. All right, table number 2. Who's up? Who's speaking?
What?
So.
Okay, apparently I'm speaking.
We figured that somebody should have just picked up a project management manual of, and that probably would have solved most of the problems from the get-go.
Number 1.
Yeah, number one, what went wrong? Nobody learned how to do any type of project management from anyone. So, and you can see it's so simple. It's just every single one of these is an issue, and you know, there's so many things wrong. You can go on forever. But what could have prevented this from happening? There could have been a lot more collaboration. There could have been a lot more of everything, right? So when you look at the department had little experience with designing electronic processes, maybe this department wasn't prepared for this level of project. Maybe they should have asked another control agency or something for maybe CTA could have been a good choice to handle this project for them. So there's a lot of little things you could have done differently. And then what should this department have, could have prevented this from happening. What should this department have done differently? Everything.
Okay. Anybody want to take this one? You're going to pass. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Scenario 4, and I'm going to read over your shoulder real quick. Thank you. Your organization has hired an integrator to develop a document imaging system and workflow system. The design of the proposed solution impacts existing processes that cross several programs. The organization will not be able to operate without changing business processes and staff roles. How do you ensure the culture accepts the change, and how does the business analysts ensure alignment between processes, roles, and system design? Who's up? Don't all jump up at once. Anybody want to take it?
All right.
All right. You don't need that. Okay.
Let's see. So, two sets of notes. So, engage the participating program areas, because apparently there's several of them here, in the discussion and the decision-making process. Otherwise, you're not going to get through the buy-in. So,
Right.
make sure that everybody has a role, has a voice in what those procedures are going to look like, what the new roles might be, what, as far as interacting with this imaging and this document management system. So
Right.
Big part of it is to make sure everybody has a voice and that everybody has some part of the decision-making process. And once you've got that buy-in and we're all working on a common goal for a common design, in order to, at least this is something I just wrote down here too, I would recommend that we came up with some sort of a visual representation of what those decisions were. And something that came to mind was a racing matrix, and that's a means that allows you to identify who's responsible. So you have all these roles that you've identified in each one of the different departments, and now with each one of those roles, you're going to have someone who's responsible, someone who's accountable, usually the project manager or the program area, the management of that, communication piece, and then an information. So that's the racing part of it. And by looking at that matrix, you can see all the different roles and who's responsible for what, and that helps with that second part as far as how do you ensure alignment between the different processes and the roles.
Perfect. All right. Next table. Who's up? Again. Wow. 2 in a row.
Oh, I know. I'm so lucky.
It was a mutual assignment.
Yeah. So what we have, the first thing is that we would do a stakeholder analysis to see what was to ensure that everybody, who needed to be involved and what new stakeholders there were, ensure that we had strong sponsorship from the sponsors, training. We would also do a cultural assessment, which may lead us to a impact analysis of the changes. We would try and make sure that we had a cross program kind of project team or at that level, and lots of involvement. Okay. And then in terms of the second portion, which is how to kind of link them together, what I thought we would use kind of use cases, maybe at the business level and also at the functional level. That obviously would percolate down to the kind of design and, again, involvement. Okay.
Perfect. All good stuff. All right. Last table. Who wants to speak to it? All right, Nellie.
Yes, I have something to add. So
I know, it's hard because it's really good.
for me, organizational change management is like a parallel process for a project. It starts at the beginning. There's actually a psychology of change. It's like a bell curve where people are in denial and then they sabotage, they try to kind of negative, and then they accept, and then they master. And it's a two-way communication throughout. So if the process has to change, then you have to define the gap between the current and the future, and you have to train based on roles, each person's role and how their role will change, and it's a constant communication throughout the project. And I don't think a lot of projects do that, but it's almost like a separate parallel project that goes on.
All right. Good answers. Any questions or anything anybody wanted to ask about that? So everybody who was brave enough to contribute for the table, please stand up. Okay, you guys. I know we're still grabbing some things, but the last, or what we wanted to leave you with was, if you're looking for ways to improve your skills, there's a lot of things you can do. Learn by doing, which is accept new challenges. There's a lot of business analysts in this room, so that's awesome. You guys are obviously already doing that. But actively engage challenges. Go in and be the one to volunteer to take the painful process. You're going to learn a lot. Just remember, there's no wrong answer. It's just make a decision, move forward, use all of your analytical skills to make sure you're making the best decision you can make, and move on. You can get certified through the IIBA. That's the BABAC certification. There's lots and lots of publications out there that you can read on business analysis, on change management, on organizational structures, psychology behind thinking. I mean, there's a million books that would help you as a business analyst. And so whatever your areas of interest are, like I personally am always interested in like the brain and how that helps you make decisions or not make decisions or react. But there's a ton out there. Communicate. This is the idea I love. Start a brown bag lunch. One of the things that I think is helpful here and why we spent time having you guys talk to each other is you guys are a wealth of knowledge to each other. I love going to lunch with my coworkers and talking about my project and hearing what they're dealing with, how they're dealing with it. I've learned so much by just listening to other people. That's really, I mean, experience is the key. So get together and start talking. Grab some scenarios, make some up, and then have at it and listen to each other's ideas. If you can find a mentor, connect with a mentor who can help you through issues or concerns, or maybe help you learn kind of where else you can go in terms of getting your skills, either handling issues or whatever. And get trained. Just build a knowledge of various analysis tools and techniques. So the SWOT, the IDEAL, there's a lot of different tools and techniques out there. You know, people are always coming up with new ones, new facilitation methods, all kinds of things. So just sort of keep up to date, and I'm pretty sure there's even a magazine, which is sort of embarrassing. And Nellie, I'm sorry, you.
In the keynote this morning, Carlos mentioned that the state was going to try to start business analysis and requirements development training in the Rancho Cordova facility. I don't know if you all heard that, but I'm not really sure of the details, but that's something to watch for and maybe talk to your management about. Oh, okay, great.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Carrie Gutierrez. I'm actually, sorry, I just ran up the stairs. No, I don't need that. I can talk loud.
Oh, that's great, because the recording,
Oh,
I keep
do?
forgetting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me catch my breath. I literally ran up the stairs because I did want to come in. BA, honestly, is a passion of mine. So, and because of that, we are actually working. So I have asthma. And I literally ran up the thing. I just wanted to catch a tail end, so my apologies. I got to catch my breath. All right. So we have actually been working with UC Davis to put together an interagency agreement that will actually bring, they have a current BA certification program that is online. So we're going to work with them to actually translate that into a classroom instruction. It's very draft right now, but what we're looking at is the possibility of a 14-day curriculum over 4.5 months. What it will offer is, sorry, take a deep breath. So what it will offer is the ability to obtain your hours if you want to become certified, because it is offered through IIBA. So that was the cool thing, is that UC Davis has already taken care of that, as well as you will be able to apply for academic service units. So for those that are, continuing education, we thought that was an important component. There are modules within the program that if you're PMP, you'll be able to, get your PDUs, or if you're already BA certified, you would be able to get your certification units updated there. So that's one of the programs. We're going to do a pilot. The plan right now is to launch that in January of 2014. Sorry, I'm really not nervous. It's like my asthma is killing me. Okay, so the other thing that we're doing is we also have currently curriculum out at the Training and Education Center. It's interesting because I discovered it. It's actually called Sdlc Analyst Certification. But when we started really looking into that, it is offered by Fifth Solution. Spiros is actually an instructor out at Sac State. And so a component, I would say, out of probably the 5 or 6 modules, there are at least 3 that actually speak to business analysis, how to elicit requirements, how to translate them into, functional requirements. So that's another option. We also worked with him recently to pull one of the modules out and have that very specific to business analysis requirements. So we're coming up with many options. Carlos also talked about the Project Management Academy, or series, if you will. And one of the topics will actually focus on business analysis and requirements. So we're trying to put together a curriculum and a program that touches on BA, but that there's lots of opportunities, right, all the way from the 3 or 4 hour workstation. So lots more to come. If you're interested, there is a table downstairs and you can sign up. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the other thing we want to do is ask you guys, what would benefit you? What are you looking for in terms of training, and what could Carlos offer you? Are there areas of interest in particular that you would like that we can maybe communicate back? You want that? Anything else? Anything else? Then okay. Do you have anybody? Oh, sorry. Did you have a question? No. Okay. All right. I see one.
Diagrammaing methodologies, I think that helps a lot in doing requirements analysis. To start with the context diagram and move on down through the hierarchy each year. And we don't really do that in the state. I know I went back to school as an older adult and got my IT degree, and they focused on that, on the diagramming and that, but they only did it at a high level. When you go to work, they will have the diagramming methodology. They want to use type of symbols and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was helpful, and I see it more coming in. And we've had some classes with public health and giving us a lot of training and that sort of thing. So is there going to be that type of curriculum? Because I think it's very valuable, but we all have to speak the same language so we understand the diagram. And then we have somebody that leads and they get something. We have the words of the requirements, but the pictures
So, do you think will there be any possibility of diagramming types of classes? Methodology related to diagramming requirements and processes. Do you know that? Or if not, we'll bring that forward. Okay. Anybody else?
Can I add on to that? Sure. Do you have any examples of a detailed design document that would be more in sort of a process flow? We're working on that right now, but we cannot find any examples of really good detailed design.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah,
we can find. I do have one. Yeah.
Things have been done well.
Right.
Things have been done poorly too. but
Right.
we could find things
We can probably find you some examples. I find like when I do, I don't know, when I do a detailed design, generally, I do that in conjunction with who my developer is, so that as I'm for me, the detailed design is much of the external side of it. And so I like to make sure that what I'm documenting is going to translate for them and how they're going to do their development. You don't always have that benefit.
Yeah, we actually are doing that. We're working with our developers.
Okay. And I'm sorry, in the back? I didn't. So there's a local IAB chapter that meets quarterly. Oh, yes, that's a great way to find a mentor.
How do you find that chapter?
Yeah, do you have any idea where that chapter
They
is?
have a website. You can probably go through that.
Okay. 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 Any other questions or ideas or
Did you talk about communities of interest as well?
communities of interest? No.
Okay, so that's another, we're trying to look at this from, all angles. So everything that we're looking at large is communities of interest, communities of practice. Back in the day, we used to call them user work groups.
So we're going to use this as a kind of means to start launching that. So again, down at the table, if you're interested in participating, please sign up and try to understand, what is, who's interested in participating in this. We would actually be going to host them out at the training center in Metro Cordova, or it's something that could be located, amongst various departments as well. And it's one of those things I think over the years have attempted to do those kinds of things, but it takes work. So we've talked about that on the training centers, that we would provide the logistics and the administrative work to carry this forward. We just need a group of people that have an interest in really sharing lessons learned and what went well and what didn't go well. In the UC-Davis curriculum that they're developing, we've already started to give them case studies as they're developing their scope of work and give them examples of, where we see the projects are done a good job with the departments, or maybe those that haven't done, because, we've heard about that, I think, in several keynote speakers this morning, because if you're not making those mistakes, then the problem is you're not reaching the limit of potential, you're not learning. It's just a matter of how to learn that and how to apply it. So, as well as when we're gonna reach out to the people that are doing this work and ask them to participate in the presentations and in the case studies forward. Because it's important, obviously all of this is relevant. And we want to hear about how, Bank of Minnesota take the requirements on their projects. So it's very important. So it'll be very exciting and very
Cool. All right. 1 minute.
I'd just like to share with everybody another discipline called Disciplined Agile Development by Scott Ambler. Don't know if you've heard of it, but it's...
You're close enough.
Okay. I know in the state we do a lot of waterfall development and IT projects, but Agile has a lot to offer. The challenges have been it's not scalable, and it's a little loosey-goosey on handling risks. There's some holes in it, but a gentleman named Scott Ambler developed a methodology for IBM about 10 years ago, and he and his partner, I can't remember his name, but got their book. They wrote a book on it. They have certifications on it. It's called Disciplined Agile Delivery, and they have modified it so that you can do Agile for large projects, and you do releases very quickly so your customers have something in hand to be trying out rather than having all the requirements up front, which we generally miss something anyway. And in software, my end of things at ARB, people don't always know what they want until they get their hands on it. So the requirements aren't always on target to begin with. And then if they can be massaged as you go along, oftentimes they get what they like sooner because you're doing releases more quickly. And they really have been very actively involved in the development process with the developers sitting at the same table, and the analyst is in there facilitating everything. So I just highly recommend that if you want to take a look, Disciplined Agile Delivery, that book. You can look into their certifications too, and I would promote that for state to look at that too.
Scott Ambler.
Scott Ambler. All right. Anybody else? I think we're closing up shop here. All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you guys coming and participating. And there's more stuff over here.